one of the things that I found, kind of interesting about Nietzsche, and, he did have the great quote that I kind of beaten to death in my time while I was serving is, that which does not kill you only makes you stronger. Yes, indeed. But what happens to the heart, the soul, when suffering becomes so integrated into the context of your being that all you exist in is an interpretation of your suffering, or arranging your suffering on the hierarchy of what it's not tolerance, on the hierarchy of being able to sustain these other responsibilities of your life. And the other one great comment that I think really is correlated to Nietzsche in such a profound way is that, God is dead. And what he kind of assumes in these statements is that Christianity itself, because its core root principle of seek and ye shall receive the truth, essentially, what happened as a result of that culture, that hierarchy of suffering that was integrated with Christ himself and his suffering and what you get for that suffering, it emerged and it stepped away from the core root idea and then became, well, let's figure out what the truth of existence is. Is God real? And yeah, it's totally cool. Let's question God. Let's question the family. Let's question the difference between a man and a woman. Let's question capitalism. Let's question everything so that everything is on the table to generate suffering. Well, what happens to a society, in particular its children, when they don't believe that there's any outlet or escape, there's any other component of their existence where they can't restructure these hierarchies, where they put something like their faith in Christ at the top of the hierarchy? What happens when they can't, they lose faith in their ability to provide for their future wife or their future family because they can't get a job coming out of these institutions that have robbed them of $100,000 or $400,000 in degrees that are meaningless in the grander context of the world? What happens to the children that you have robbed them of any resilience or grit because you have them facing their screens, keeping them insecure on whether or not they're pretty enough or they're smart enough or they're capable enough? What happens in a society that lives in that perpetual onslaught of trying to figure out what the hell is it worth? Where do I look? What moves up the chain and not usurps or bumps out, but what can I put next to the probability of my own death to balance that out, to give it a counterpoint, the yin and the yang, the good and the bad, evil and good, Christ and Satan, whatever you want to match it as, that's the context of the balance that I believe is required.